everyone. I want to go over Module 3, introduce you to it, so you can understand the assignments and get an overview. These assignments are not due until March 21st. The name of the module is called Writing on the Job. And in this module, we will cover different types of writing that you may encounter in the workplace. We are going to talk about memos, letters, emails, collaborative writing, and surveys. The helpful textbook chapters are chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the actual assignments due are a collaborative writing assignment, which you will need to choose up to 5 classmates to work with. And I'll get more into that in a bit on how you can find people to work with. So it needs to be a minimum of 2, maximum of 5. So 2 to 5 people. Then we have another assignment where you'll create an agenda, a meeting agenda. You'll also create a poll or survey. There's a memo test where I have a memo that's horribly written, and you're going to try to rewrite the memo so that it has the same general message that you're trying to convey, but you're going to convey it in a much more clear manner with more clear content, a better tone, and you're going to use correct memo format because none of that is correct in the memo that I provide you to fix. And the biggest mistake people make on that assignment is they barely make any changes, or they run a spell check and they barely make changes. So it's very important that you address the content of the letter, the tone of the letter, and the format. And then there's a letter test where you're going to create a letter based on the scenario I give you, and then same thing with the email assignment. For that email assignment, you can screenshot an email, you can make your document look like how an email is set up. Probably the best thing is to, you're not actually going to email me, you're going to submit the email to the submission area in the course. So let's jump right in. In this module folder, there are a bunch of instructional materials. Here is a video with an overview of emails, letters, and memos. Here's a folder on memos. Here's a folder on business letters. Here's the actual collaborative memo assignment. Now, this assignment can be found on page 113 in our textbook, and we're going to do number 5. There's a scenario about blood tubes. Now, even though this is a medical scenario, I don't expect you to use any real information, just something that would be plausible information, but I don't expect you to do any research on lab tubes or anything like that. Just make up fictitious information that would be the type of information that you would need to include. There are 2 total memos in this collaborative assignment. One is a memo to the business manager, and the other is a memo to the lab manager. And as you can guess, they're going to change slightly because the audience changes slightly. So the type of information you would emphasize would be slightly different based on who your audience is. You will find 2 to 5 classmates to work with. And right over here is an email function. And in it, if you click on it, it'll bring up everybody in the class. Here's all the student users. And here's everybody in the class. And you could shoot an email out to everyone. Or you could email just several students. All right, back into, it took me out of it, back into the Module 3 folder. So that's a collaborative memo assignment. Again, this is worth a very, very, very few points. Yes, you need to write a memo that has an appropriate tone. It needs to have good content in it, and it needs to be formatted correctly for a memo. But really, I'm interested in the way you guys are going to use the collaborative tools in Google. So what you're going to do is you're going to share a document, you're going to set it up, and you're going to enable everyone to work on the document together to show that you can work collaboratively at a distance, because that is a common thing nowadays in a workplace setting. So I'm more interested that you go through the experience of collaborating. Yes, the final memo does matter, but that's not the most important thing. And this assignment is weighted very, very little because a lot of people do not like group work, but you must work in a group of 2 to 5 people for this assignment. I only need one person from the group to submit, and all the names in the memo part, there's a part in memos where it says from, and in the from part, you'll put all the names of all the students that should be getting credit for the memo. That's how I'll know, but only one person needs to actually submit it. And then I'll put the grades in for everyone else. All right, here's information on how to create a meeting agenda. Here's a step-by-step guide. And then here's actually where you're gonna submit the assignment. So creating an agenda, and this is the submission area for it. An agenda is different from meeting minutes. Meeting minutes are the notes from a meeting that someone takes and later sends out to everyone to just reemphasize what was covered in the meeting. An agenda is created before a meeting, and it's usually sent out or handed at the door to the people who come. So you don't know ahead of time who the attendees are, but it's an agenda. It's like the schedule of the meeting. Now for the survey, you will be posting this to the discussion board. So this one, you're not submitting in a typical manner that you normally submit. This one, you're going to post to the discussion board so that your classmates can actually take your survey. It doesn't matter if they take your survey or not. I will grade it just off of going into it myself. So there are instructions here on how to create the survey. You do not need to make it a long survey. You can have fun with it. It can be serious or lighthearted, totally up to you. Just keep it appropriate. Here's the memo test. Again, this is a horrible, horrible memo. It's got numerous errors in spelling, grammar, the content, the clarity of the message, the formatting. There's a bunch of stuff you wouldn't even do in a memo put in here. So you're going to take the gist of this memo, which is lunch breaks being too long, and you're going to rewrite it with all of the correct information and in the right tone, etc. Here is the letter assignment. You're going to create a complaint letter, and there's information on our book on these, and this is the submission area for it. And there's a scenario I've created about an unpleasant dining experience at a restaurant. And the main thing I'm looking for are that you use a full block style letter. It says right here, use full block style. That's a very specific style. It has to do with everything over to the left. I'm looking for the parts of the letter, the inside address, the return address, the spacing to be right, the date. So this is all very important. The wording in the letter is important, but this is really an assignment on formatting the letter. So make sure that you spend as much time getting it correctly formatted with all the necessary parts. Here's the email assignment. Again, you can just take a screenshot of it from an email and submit it that way. You will not really be emailing me anything for this assignment. And actually, here's the submission area for this. This is just instructional information on emails, and here is the submission area that it says here. Click here to find the submission area. And here's the assignment. It gives you the scenario. You have a choice. You can email a person that you're trying to interview for a school assignment, and that's kind of interesting because you probably already did that for the career assignment, and you probably will do it again for the final project in here. Or you could use the scenario of emailing an instructor for a class you've missed. So either one of those. And then once you have finished that, you have finished the module. It really doesn't matter which assignment you work on first. Probably I would go ahead and secure your collaborative memo group first, and you guys can go ahead and create two shared documents for those two memos, just so you have it in the works. And again, this is not due until March 21st. You have a lot of time to just work on these. And as the weeks go by, I will continue to add valuable information on these assignments and tips. So feel free to email me if you have questions. And I hope that this is a good overview for you of Module 3.